TGIF. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Joy Reid Show. Oh, yikes. We got sound over here. We don't need that. Big ups to everybody that's in the chat. Sorry for the noise. I got to try to mute this other. I have another monitor that was making sound. Sorry about that. It was like a little double monitor thing happening. But yes, big up to everybody that's in the chats, everybody that's on the stack, everybody that is on Twitch, our lovely Twitchies, everybody that's listening on a podcast platform, everybody on Facebook. Y'all behave yourselves on Facebook tonight. You know, we know y'all get. We know how you are on Facebook, but you guys, please behave yourselves. Have a great time. And we appreciate everybody that's here. We are so close to our 500,000 subscriber goal on Substack. I mean, on YouTube. Sorry. We are at 498,094. Just flipped over to that 94th person just came in. Whoever you are, welcome.
It's probably going to happen over the weekend.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to get to 500,000. So let us know. Maybe we should do a poll. Winston, throw a poll in. I don't know if you guys want to come up with some options. What should we do when we get to 500,000, y'all? We got to have a plan. We need a plan.
I have one.
What is your idea?
Keep on growing to 1 million.
Yeah, well, it's our pivot point. That is our, you when you jump up some stairs, we're just hop, jumping up to 1 million subscribers. So we're going to be halfway there. And by the way, the reason this is such a big deal is that it typically takes about 3 years for your average YouTube channel to get to even where we are right now. So we are way ahead of schedule. We're growing faster than your average bear. So we're very proud of our growth. So big up to everybody. Thank you, everybody that's been so supportive and been a part of our growth. Our lemon readers, we see you guys in there. The lemon heads are a big part of that growth. Also, our readers community, our Cousin Nation family. We got some reader cousin lemon heads. We even have some lemon legends that are also readers. So it's been really fun getting to know all of you guys in the chats. We appreciate each and every single one of you. So thank you. And let's just keep growing. When we hit 1 million, then maybe we'll throw like a party. When we hit 1 million, maybe we should throw like a real party, like an in real life like thing. We'll see. We'll figure it out. We have a big show tonight. In the second hour, we're going to talk about a really egregious case of malinformed justice, I guess you'd call it, malformed justice in this country. A gentleman who is suffering and dying in prison and shouldn't even be there in the first place. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to bring on his brother and the folks who are fighting to try to free him, Tony Stewart. So we're going to talk about that in the second hour. We're also going to talk with the man who is persistently attempting to impeach Donald Trump. Probably the most stalwart impeachment advocate in the country. We're going to talk to him as well. And also we're going to talk to our favorite black farmer, rancher, John Boyd Jr. We're going to talk to him as well. And then don't forget, after the show is over, we've got one of those fun little after parties. We're going to do an after party after the show. It'll start at about 8:15 because we need time to go get our security, get our beverage of choice, and for you to get your beverage of choice. So that's going to be a members-only chat after party after this show. So stick around, grab yourself whatever you love to drink, whatever, if it's a hot tea, a hot toddy, whatever you like, and come back at 8:15 for the after party. It is After Party Friday. I think those are most of the episodes. Oh, no, I have one more announcement. If you really want me to go on SNL, because this is a mission, Jackie Reid, big up to Jackie Reid of Reid This, Reid That, myself, Sora, sister, cousin, friend. She's determined, and she came on this show to push for me to get to host Saturday Night Live, which actually would be a dream come true. It would be so much fun. If you want to support myself, and I, being the host of Saturday Night Live, you can click that little cute QR code. You can also add in who you'd like to see as a musical guest. Can you imagine me on there with Tribe Called Quest? That would be like amazing. I would love that. Tribe Called Quest would be like one of my big choices. Maybe Wu-Tang Clan, whoever. It would be fun. There's lots of other folks. Layla Hathaway is Jackie Reid's choice, but put Lettucey is another popular choice, my Sora. So do that. Okay. So that's one thing. And one more piece of housekeeping before we get to the show in chief, because if you're gonna be drinking later, you gotta eat first, right? And you want something delicious, and you want something nutritious, and therefore you want something forkful. The Joy Reid Show is brought to you by our friends at Forkful. Eating well can be really kind of tough when you're busy. Finding time for meal planning or cooking is a challenge for sure. Most meal kits provide convenience, but they require a lot of prep, a lot of cleanup. Meal services often use like bad things for your body, like industrial seed oils that can actually harm you. Takeout and processed food, clearly not the highest quality. They sacrifice quality, ingredients, and taste to shove food at you that isn't really delicious. Well, Forkful solves all that. It's meals that prioritize flavor, function, and health. No seed oils, zero seed oils. Chef cooked, fresh, never frozen, ready to eat meals made with high quality premium proteins, grass-fed bison, wild-caught salmon, fresh veggies, delicious menus that fit your lifestyle and your meal preferences. So if you're vegan, they've got that. If you're gluten-free, dairy-free, keto, plant-based, whatever it is, GLP-1, whatever it is, low carb, whatever you want, you can customize how you want your meals to come across, and they will come across just that way. So eating well does not need to be complicated, and you get your fully prepared, deliciously healthy meals right to your door. No cooking, no cleanup, just delicious, clean flavors, ready in less than 3 minutes. Because we do like a quick meal. They deliver right to your door. You get them within 24 to 48 hours of ordering. Love that because I'm busy. I don't have time. And sometimes you don't have time to eat. And all the things you're doing, I mean, look, game changer. Just try something new. Try something. They have a great filet mignon if you're a meat eater, great spinach and asparagus if you're a veggie person. The truffle mac and cheese apparently is delicious. So we want to maybe try that as well. So if you'd like to explore our plans and menu of fresh, ready-to-eat meals at forkfulmeals.com, just use the code JOY to get 50% off your first order. That is Forkful Meals, FORKFUL meals.com/joy. Use the promo code JOY for 50% off. Can't beat savings. Thank you, Forkful, for sponsoring this episode. So speaking of that, I'm a teeny bit under the weather. So I'm going to start with this water, delicious water, and I'm going to drink that. Hydrate. Very important to hydrate. And then I'm going to hopefully shift to some tea if I can compel the great Winsome to brew me a cup of tea.
Do you need more water or do you have enough out there? Okay.
I got plenty of water. I got a bottle over here I can refill. But I feel like I'm going to need a hot drink at a certain point.
I'll let you boy.
I feel like it's got to get hot. Gotta get hot.
Well, Winston could get you the hot drink.
Yeah, we'll work that in. Right. So let's start off the show in chief because I think it's clear now to pretty much anyone who's paying attention that we are living in orange hell. That the person in charge nominally of the federal government is not governing and is literally spending all of his time self-enriching and self-soothing. It's almost like the president of the United States is a Make-A-Wish kid. And before he passes out of the earthly plane and meets his maker downstairs, he wants to make sure he gets all the things. He wants all the things. He wants airports named after him. He wants, battleships named after him. He wants the Kennedy Center renamed in his honor. He wants all the things. And he also wants to be really, really, really rich before he croaks. And so he is corrupting the government in order to make that happen. It's the only thing he actually cares about. Even the war in Iran, which no one can figure out why we're involved in it, even that is enriching his family. It's enriching his sons. They make the drones that are being purchased by the Pentagon so they can get rich off a war their father started because he was told to by Bibi Netanyahu, #Epstein files. So the Lincoln Project, which does a lot of good stuff when it comes to making these kind of videos that kind of explain things, the Lincoln Project made one about Trump corruption. Take a look. Ooh, it's soundless. No sound.
Do you have sound on this?
There's sound.
Let me pull it down and try it again.
Okay. Yeah, there should be sound.
Trump
there we go.
Got a tacky remodel of the house.
$300 million.
You got another endless war in the Middle East. Trump got billions from shady crypto scams and $400 million plans from foreign leaders. You got your health insurance price so high you can't pay for it. Trump got cage fights on the White House lawn. You got an economy built for the tech bros and Wall Street, not your family.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
He calls it a golden age. What do you call it?
I mean, I know what I call it. Corruption. Horrible, disgusting corruption, right? So you're getting nothing. Donald Trump promised, I think, 4 things he said he was going to do. He was going to lower prices on day one. That hasn't happened. He was going to cut inflation, didn't do that, make life more affordable. He was going to close the border, mass deport lots of people. They are kind of accomplishing that and killing lots of people, right? And no more new wars, no more dumb wars. 2 of the 4 is a 0. And the other 2, they're killing people to get those done. So John Ossoff, who is running for re-election in the great state of Georgia, he has summed it up probably better than almost anyone in politics today by coining the term the Mar-a-Lago Mafia. Here's John Ossoff.
What do you guys know about Jared Kushner? Ivanka's husband. He's on the Saudi payroll for $2 billion. Did you know that? And now he's leading American diplomacy in the Middle East, apparently while at the very same time asking princes and sheikhs across the Arab world to give him billions more. If you're watching this online, don't take my word for it. Look it up for yourself. Can you imagine like a normal sitting U.S. ambassador just hitting up Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for billions of dollars? But he's a Trump, a royal, a princeling. The rules are for us, not for them. And it's not just Jared getting in on the action. A company owned in part by Eric and Don Jr. has been pitching Gulf kingdoms on its drone interceptors during this war. The Financial Times reported, quote, Pete Hegseth's broker looked to buy defense fund before Iran attack. I tell you what, never before have we seen so little effort to hide so much corruption. The Mar-a-Lago Mafia has taken American corruption to spectacular new heights.
I mean, it really doesn't get more straightforward than that. Donald Trump and his regime behave like the mob. He's using the so-called Justice Department, I call it the Injustice Department, to go after anyone who's ever tried to hold him legally accountable for crimes. They fired all the FBI agents that were involved in trying to get back our national security data and documents that he had hidden at his Mar-a-Lago Mafia headquarters, in the ballroom and in a bathroom behind a tacky, cheap curtain. All those people are gone. Any person in the Justice Department that participated in trying to hold Donald Trump accountable for stealing our national security documents, they're gone. Pam Bondi, Pamela Joe, squashed the Epstein files, released a portion of them, but scrubbed Donald Trump and scrubbed his name out of as much as possible to try to protect him from whatever's in there. I'm sure Bibi Netanyahu knows what's in there. We don't have an FBI. Kash Patel is like running off and like boozing it up with like Olympic athletes and flying around to go and visit his girlfriend at her country music concerts, but they can't even find poor Miss Nancy. They're not even involved in the Nolan Wells case. They don't care about any of that, all these hangings that have happened. Where's the FBI? They are not involved. They don't exist. They essentially don't exist. We essentially don't have a Justice Department. You literally cannot eat food right now without fear, because God knows what the FDA is doing, because we're having recall after recall after recall. We just had a recall, Winsome just told me about it today, of medical devices that you use to get an IV, but that are compromised. They've got like detritus in them. So now they're dangerous to you. Everything's dangerous. Food, lettuce, and then all the people who make the poison food have to do is cut a check to Trump, send the money, and all of a sudden, they get away with it. And corporate America's figured that out, right? They can actually go back to poisoning people like the post-industrial pre-regulation age. They all are just cutting big checks. All these big companies that want to do dirt to their employees, to their customers, all the little dirty companies decide to just cut a check so you can get away with poisoning people again. And then they suddenly take you off the list of recalls and stuff. But now the same corporate America that have been out here literally going back to the bad old days of Aldous Huxley era America, now they're getting worried that, wait a minute, the gravy train might end if the Democrats get back control of the House and Senate. Now the same companies that have been out here doing the dirtiest of dirt, they're now concerned that if the Democrats get back in the House and Senate, get back control of it and have subpoena power, they might be called to account and they might be dragged before hearings. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure that I understand why they're worried. Because the same Jared Kushner of the Mar-a-Lago Mafia has a direct line to the man who's likely to be the next Speaker of the House. So they're already cutting deals like the mafia does to make sure that if power changes hands in November and then in January we swear in a Democratic-controlled House and Senate, at least the things Jared cares the most about will be A-OK, will be cool. And these corporations, I'm quite sure, are rushing to figure out who do they need to pay. Thank you, Winsome. Who do they need to hustle some money off to try to ensure that they don't have to worry if Democrats take back control. Whereas the voters, the people out here in the real world, they want complete change. They want accountability. I can't think of anyone, I don't know anyone who would be happy to have a change in leadership nominally, but no actual change in the behaviors. We don't want Democrats meeting with Jared Kushner. We don't want Democrats figuring out how to come together and do bipartisan work with the fascist Republicans that have taken over that party. What we want are Democrats to come in and immediately begin aggressive reforms, aggressively reform the Supreme Court, aggressively reform, meaning add members to the Supreme Court to outvote those people that are letting Donald Trump potentially steal an election if he can, right, with the mail. Come in and pass a hardcore ethics, a panel of ethics requirements for Supreme Court justices, and I would say age limits to force some of them to retire if and when we get a Democratic president. Like, they need to come in and do some serious, aggressive governing, just like Donald Trump has done. That's what we want, not them chilling with Jared Kushner, right? Just FYI. So not all Democrats, though, are in the play ball camp. There are some Democrats who believe very strongly that the job of the opposition is to oppose. The job of the opposition is to aggressively oppose the corruption of the president of the United States and to try to shut that corruption down. And there are some Democrats who believe that even in the minority, it is important for Democrats to exercise whatever power they actually have, to use whatever power and power of persuasion they have to try to affect change now and not wait till next January for bipartisan hearings or for some bipartisan miracle that Republicans suddenly want to work with them, which they don't. There are just some Democrats who say that's not good enough. We actually need to start the accountability now, come what may. And they do that not because they know they're going to have a permanent job, but because they know that that is justice and that that is the right thing to do. That's the kind of Democrat that we call fighting Democrats. That's the kind of Democrat that I wish I could be confident would be running the House and Senate if Democrats take the House and Senate back. That's what I wish. I'm not sure I believe it. I wish that was the case, because we are in the nadir and we need a fight that is equal to the evil and that has as much aggressiveness and aggression toward it that Donald Trump has had toward the Constitution and toward the American people. Representative Al Green of Texas is one of those Democrats. He's one of those Democrats that is, again, we call him a fighting Democrat because he doesn't believe that being in the minority means you don't do anything. It means you try to exercise whatever power you have right now to do whatever you can do right now to force accountability on an out of control, crimey, grimy, thieving ass president. I want you all to listen to Representative Al Green of the great state of Texas. He did not win his primary. So he knows that he won't be there in January, but he's like, doesn't matter. I'm going to use the power I have right now. Here is Representative Al Green calling for a third impeachment of Donald Trump.
Hello, everyone. I'm your Congressman Al Green, and today I have just filed articles of impeachment. I have the articles in my hand, H-Res 1486, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. I'm not going to go into great detail right now about these articles, but I shall in the days follow. But I will say this. These articles are not about Democrats They're not about conservatives or liberals. They're not about left or right. They're about right and wrong. They're about life and death. They're about 4 people who lost their lives, and there appears to be a cover-up. These articles will give some details about the cover-up, but also about how ICE and CBP have become organizations operating under the hand of the president that literally have become judge, jury, prosecutor, and executioner when it comes to the lives of people in this country. I'll say much more about it in the future, but I invite you to please read these articles of impeachment. They will be on my website. We're going to send them to various entities across the country. I will be appearing on various programs as early as tomorrow. I'll start, and we'll talk more about them. But for now, be prepared to receive not only the articles, but a vote on the articles of impeachment.
And joining me now is the cane shaker. Jason, put up my favorite picture. The cane shaker, Representative Al Green, the man who is not afraid, never was afraid, never will be afraid, and who is bringing, attempting to bring articles of impeachment against Donald John Trump. Representative Green, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, a voice of independent news. Thank you so much. I appreciate you greatly.
Well, you said you were going to be on various news outlets to talk about your articles of impeachment. Which outlets have invited you on besides this one?
Well, we've been on various local outlets, and I would just say other independents who've been very kind to have me on. And I'll be on later on tonight with another. I try not to advertise others on your program.
Sure. Oh, I was just curious to see if the corporate media
is
willing to address this.
They're all independent sources like you.
There you go.
Listen, this is where we get the news. Others are simply regurgitating their views without giving you real news. And they want to shape the news as opposed to report the news. So thank you for being a great reporter.
Of course, you're always welcome here, sir, because I like the way you fight. So you talked in the piece that we just played, the clip that you posted about the ICE situation. We're going to put up A6 if you could, Jason. I mean, the deaths in custody from of people who've been detained by ICE have skyrocketed under this regime. Is this solely what your articles of impeachment are about?
Well, they are, but they're about it in a different sense. It's about 4 people who died, and I'm sure you're familiar with Renee, you're familiar with Lorenzo, and you're familiar with Mr. Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero, as well as Alex Prady. These 4 persons have died at the hands of a vicious, unaccountable paramilitary force that has acted as judge, jury, prosecutor, and executioner. We have to bring them in check. And the only way we can do it is to go after the president because he supports and condones what they're doing. He was in Houston, Texas today and did not visit the victims, the family of the victim in Houston, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo. He did not visit them. He could easily have arranged for them to come to him so that he could at least express his sympathies for what happened to the father and the son, but he didn't. So these articles of impeachment are about this, but it is also about the Congress now, because these are solid articles of impeachment. I've had a constitutional scholar to review them and look at them. This is about whether Democrats, pardon me for being so direct if I may, but it's about whether Democrats are going to side with the president and the killers of these 4 people, or will they side with the family and the victims? The family and the victims. Are we going to side with the Republicans and the president, or are we going to vote to stand with these families and the victims? Now, here's another thing. There will be a vote to table. This vote to table means this. If you vote yes to table, you're voting with the president and the killers of these people. If you vote against tabling, then you're voting with the victims and the family members of the victims. So it really is that simple. We've got a choice now. Which way will we choose to go, given that this is a seminal moment in time? And those who would say, well, let's wait a while longer, Well, what happens when another person dies? If another person dies, I've heard members say, well, this blood is on the president's hands. I've heard others say this is cold-blooded. Well, if another person dies and you voted against these articles, then the blood is on your hands. You are going to have blood on your hands because you had a chance to deal with this reckless, ruthless behavior being exhibited by a president and a vicious, unaccountable paramilitary force.
What do you say to those who say, you know, Donald Trump was impeached twice before, it didn't change his behavior at all?
Well, Donald Trump doesn't enjoy being impeached. That's the first. And the second thing is he was convicted in the court of public opinion. And that is where we have our leverage, in the court of public opinion. I believe that if Democrats would show people that we're willing to fight and stand up to this president, the turnout's going to go up. There are a lot of people waiting to see what fight do we have in us at a time when fight is needed. Now, there are people who say, well, this is performative. Well, they're not fighting. People who are fighting are not calling this performative. People who are fighting are saying this is the right thing to do. People who are fighting want to see this kind of protest take place. And if we go to the House floor and all of the Democrats vote to impeach and the Republicans do not, we now have people on record and people know what the Democrats will do and what the Republicans won't. They will tolerate this. The accountability is important. That's a big issue. But also, affordability. But accountability is equally as important. We cannot put affordability above accountability. Affordability is about life in the sense that you need the necessities of life, but accountability is about protecting life from the paramilitary force and the president who has caused people to lose their lives at the hands of people who are doing it apparently with impunity. No justification, just a cover-up.
And by the way, I will note, just for historical reference, that no president has ever been convicted when it comes to impeachment, but we all know the presidents who were impeached. We know that it happened to Andrew Johnson, that it would have happened to Richard Nixon had he not resigned, and we know that it happened to Bill Clinton. The impeachment, and I said this back when I was one of those voices saying impeach Donald Trump during his first term, and people were saying, what's the point? I was like, that is the point. The punishment is the impeachment itself, and the conviction would be great to achieve, but he actually fears impeachment. Like, y'all should know this. He's worried that one of the reasons he's afraid that Democrats will take over the House, he's afraid he's going to get impeached. So I think that Representative Green is on the right track. I want to add, if I may, sir, to your august, you're an august man, and I know that you've already gone through and put your articles together, but I would love to suggest a couple potential additional ones if you are still open to it.
I welcome the opportunity. I have a few more months.
Yes, that's it. Let's think about it, because Donald Trump's profiting off of the presidency, to me, it is so egregious. The corruption is so blatant. Look at the chart, if you could, our audience, on the end. Donald Trump whopped up $6.3 billion in money that he couldn't make in his profession as a real estate developer. He's using the presidency to get rich. The crypto scams, the fact that foreign governments can put money into his meme coins, and also his social media company that he owns while president. Could that be another article of impeachment?
I believe so. And let me add one additional thing. I have an article here styled Trump bought up to 500,000 of Boeing on the same day the Navy handed Boeing a deal worth up to $880 million. Same day. Is that a coincidence? Some things are too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. This is obviously a means by which the president is trading information for an opportunity to enhance his enrichment. Yes, I think that is. I have been looking at the crypto angle as it relates to the president. And here's what they're doing. They are attaching the American dollar to a cryptocurrency. And the American dollar is a fiat currency. It is our currency of our government. All governments have fiat currencies. They are attaching the cryptocurrency to the dollar, and in so doing, they're creating their own fiat currency. Well, that's against the law. This country can have only one fiat currency. You can't now use the dollar to support your currency so that you can send large sums of money undetected, probably avoid some taxes, send it to people who may be dealing in human trafficking, people who may be dealing in terrorism. This whole concept of being able to transfer funds unmonitored is something we have to take note of, and we've got to stop it. But the best way to stop it is to prevent the creation of another fiat currency.
Indeed. And I will note also that cryptocurrency is a currency that the regime can turn off. If you
Yes.
misbehave, if you speak out, if you shake your cane at the wrong people, suddenly they can just turn your money off. That's why they would, I'm sure, like to have it be cryptocurrency instead of real money. This other thing, interference with the mail. This is one that is, I think, frightening all of us that are thinking about whether or not we'll be able to vote absentee. I typically vote absentee. A judge has again had to try to block this attempt by the Trump regime to force states to turn over their voting rolls so that they can use whatever AI, monstrosity they have to quote unquote vet it to make sure non-citizens are not voting, which they're not. Interference with the mail feels like another thing you could impeach him for. And I know that the Supreme Court said he's above the law, but I don't know. You can't interfere with the mail.
Well, the law as it relates to impeachment is causing harm to society. And there's no codified law that you have to say he's breached. If he's causing harm to society, then he's impeachable. And with reference to this, college students are going to suffer because college students, they have an ID card, but they don't have necessarily a birth certificate with them. They don't have the ability to carry a passport around all the time. So they'll suffer. And I want to believe that if this message can get through to them, maybe we can get them to turn out in higher numbers to defeat those who would support this kind of behavior. But we cannot allow the president to take what has clearly been delegated to the states and raise it to the federal level. And that's what he's attempting to do, which is what he does with many things. And he can get away with these things because he has a Supreme Court that is afraid to tell him no, because they know that if they tell him no, he'll say, well, stop me. And they should tell him no and let him say, stop me. And let's see how the American people react to the president of the United States defying an order of the Supreme Court. I'd like to see that happen. And if the Supreme Court had the courage of the words that they write, they would do this and say, no, Mr. President, you can't continue to build your ballroom until you get permission from Congress. Let it stop right where it is until you get permission. And then he'll come to Congress and get our permission, or the next president will get our permission and finish it. By the way, I'm sure Congress is going to have to do something at this point, but we don't have to let him bully his way through this, give us some sort of fait accompli politics, such that once he's started, you can't do anything to stop it because he's too far along. That's not the way we do business. And the Supreme Court has to just challenge him, stand up to him, and then the Congress will have to deal with it, and the American people will. But let him defy a Supreme Court order.
Let me ask you this. Has leadership, Representative Hakeem Jeffries and other members of House leadership, have they committed to putting your impeachment measure on the floor?
I have not asked that they commit to it because the rules don't require their consent. Impeachment is something that any member of Congress can bring to the attention of the body as a privileged resolution. Once I file it, then they'll have a couple of days, business days, within which I have to then have it heard and voted on. So I'll be doing that soon. Before I file it, I do want to send a letter to my colleagues saying pretty much what I've said to you. I don't want them to think that I'm going to be shy about this. The people who vote for it, I'm going to announce who voted for it, because people need to know who's supporting this notion of getting him out. He should not serve out his term. If he does serve out his term without being impeached, then the next person who follows of the same ilk may decide that he's going to do similar things. We've got to show people that there are consequences for this kind of impeachable behavior.
Indeed. Amen to that. Two quick questions before I let you go. I want to weigh in on a couple of things. The Navy is weighing renaming a carrier that was supposed to be named for a man named Doris Miller. And this guy served during segregation. He was working in the kitchen. And when the ship that he was on came under fire, he ran up and got behind the gun and basically turned himself without any training into a gunner, saved a lot of lives. He's a war hero. The Navy is considering taking that honor away from the late Mr. Miller and renaming the ship, instead of the USS Doris Miller, naming it the USS Donald Trump. Donald Trump has never served in the United States military. He dodged the draft during Vietnam. He's been circulating a picture of himself at his boarding school. It was like a military themed boarding school. It wasn't even a real military academy. Lawrence O'Donnell thrashed him for it. What do you make of this? And can Congress stop them from stealing this honor from the late Doris Miller?
Well, just to say a word about him, he has been an unsung hero because his history has been hidden from us in the sense that we haven't repeated it. It's been there, but we have to repeat this history so that our young people will understand that we didn't just act as cooks alone when there were other things that we did above and beyond the call of duty. His duty was to cook and to take care of the mess, as they call it. Well, I'm absolutely appalled at what the president is considering doing in this sense of naming this ship after himself. They're claiming that, well, all of the ships, these carriers are named after presidents, so we can't breach with tradition. Yes, you can. That's why people were recommending the name, because you can breach with tradition. And I think that even if we can't do anything, we can go on record in opposition to the behavior. We can do that. And we can go on record with our own resolutions condemning it. And we can condemn those who would partake of helping him. We've got a fight on our hands. We can't sit back and allow things to happen because, well, maybe there's not a congressional rule that allows us to change the behavior. Change the behavior by condemning the behavior. Congress, Democrats, that's what we have to do.
Are you confident that the incoming leadership, if Democrats get control of the House, will do that?
Well, I want to believe. I've got to have something to believe, Joy. So I want to believe that it will happen. But I also know this. There is a tendency to want to keep power once you get power. And to keep power, those persons who are most likely to have difficulty getting reelected, we give them special assignments. We make them appear to be people who are really moving and shaking in Congress. And we do all that we can to keep them there so that we can maintain power. My position is, and it's probably why I didn't get reelected, use all the power you have while you can. Do what you can where you are right now. Do it. If we had done what we could have, Joy, when we had the House, the Senate, and the presidency, we'd still be in power. If we had gone on record passing, by the way, doing away with the filibuster.
Yes.
Passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, George Floyd Justice in Policing, passing the bill for the labor unions that wanted to be able to have organizational power without having to get the permission of industry. And if we had passed the Latino bill that would very much help them, comprehensive immigration reform, if we had passed something to benefit the LGBTQIA community, we would still be in Congress. Those are the people who put us there, but we don't take care of the issues that confront them when we get there. So the first thing we need to do is confess that we didn't do it and say to the people, look, it won't be that way this time. This time we're going to pass these key pieces of legislation that are important to you. The PRO Act is the name of the legislation that labor unions are very much interested in. So there are these pieces of evidence that we did not fulfill our promise, and people then didn't think too much of us. Yeah. Here's what we have to remember. People expect us to use all the power we have to make the change while we're there. And they don't expect us to use as much as we can, but still maintain power. It serves no purpose for us to have power if we don't use it.
That's right. Amen. Last question before I let you go. The Legal Defense Fund has called on the United Nations, but also on Congress to investigate what sure does look like a string of lynchings, or at least of hangings that are being ruled very quickly as suicides across the American South. Is there a possibility that we'll see hearings on this in Congress?
Now, I do believe that Congress will take this up. I really do. I think that we have seen these hangings, lynchings, if you will, extrajudicial killings. We've seen them take place, and we understand that they can still be taking place. And we also understand that there can be cover-ups, just as the president is covering up the shooting of these 4 people that I called to your attention. There is a cover-up taking place. Make no question or mistake about it. And then we've got the young man who was killed out in Mississippi. We still don't know what happened to him. All of these things can be covered up, but we have to have the courage to call witnesses before the Congress and to ask them the same kinds of questions that they have been calling witnesses and asking them as it relates to people who did so much as to suggest that the president engaged in an insurrection. He's going to be vindictive, going after all of them, but we're not going after people, we're going after justice. Justice for the young man in Mississippi, justice for those persons who have been, in my opinion, lynched, justice for the 4 people who lost their lives at the hands of officers who are so violent and so very much unaccountable. We can bring accountability with impeachment to them and investigations to the others.
Congressman Al Green, one of our absolute favorites on this show. You know, you're welcome back anytime. We want to keep up with this impeachment fight that you are waging. Lone warrior for this, hopefully not lone for long. What is the website where people can read your articles of impeachment?
Well, they can do even better than that. I'm going to give you something else. Between 1 and 2:30 p.m. on Thursday, September 17th, this was just handed to me, at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center, I will be hosting a seminar, and we will talk about this whole question of crypto as it relates to the presidency, how it's infecting our politics and our communities. And I want to invite people to come 1 to 2:30 p.m., September 17th, at the Walter E. Washington Center. And as for my crypto people, you know that I love you, but we're going to talk about you. And I would like to get the proper website to get to you for people to call. Can you give me the website, please? Okay, algreen.house.gov. I have 4 of them. Okay, so
we'll do it. algreen.house.gov. That'll work,
yes.
Right? Yes.
Okay, yes, that works.
We'll make sure we put it in, and you can also send it to our producers, and we'll add it to the description of the show. Thank you, Congressman Al Green, our fighting congressman from Texas, the great Texas 9th, now redistricted, but the fighting 9th. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We love us some Al Green because he fights, like he actually fights what we wanted to happen. Before we get to our next guest, let me let you know that this show is brought to you, the Joy Reid Show, by our friends at Bluesky. Now listen, getting sleep, getting rest, helpful if it's dark in the room, at least for me anyway. I like to be dark in the room, but you also don't want to like wake up in the morning and have breakouts because you put the thing on your face and all of a sudden it's causing you to break out. Well, guess what? Bluesky has the solution for that. Beautiful, wonderful, beautiful high mum silk, soft, supple, will not break you out overnight. They also have a great pillowcase that I actually use as well to make sure that your hair is not dry. You can wake up in the morning feeling great, get that little dark sleep, and it is the best thing ever. And because you're a listener, Bluesky is offering 60 nights risk-free plus an additional 30% when you shop at bluesky.com/joypod. That's BLISSY.com/joypod. Use the code joypod to get an additional 30% off. Your skin and your hair will thank you. I'm telling you right now, you'll want to be using this pure mama silk. It is super soft and fabulous. Thank you, Bluesky, for sponsoring this episode. So if you all were not aware, there's a giant recall of Argentinian beef that's taking place that was sold in Texas, Florida, of course, Texas and Florida. Of course, nearly 30,000 pounds of beef from Argentina has been recalled. And again, I said it before when we were talking with Representative Green, it's not even necessarily safe to eat in this country anymore because our federal government is failing us. One man has been waging a lone fight to try to make sure that Black ranchers and farmers are made whole, given the destruction that's happening to their businesses because of this regime. And of course, his name is John Boyd Jr. Here he is.
From your perspective, John, what would be the best way to try to drop the price of beef and also keep production here at home versus potentially importing product?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. We're at an all-time low in cattle production in the United States. Invest in more cattle farmers, small-scale producers. USDA isn't doing enough to get the next generation of farmers involved. And those generation of farmers like myself, I'm at that crossroads. I'm 61 years of age. Invest in the next generation of farmers instead of putting them out of business. Before long, we're going to be trying to get beef for a long-term perspective from other parts of the country. If we don't begin to invest in America's farmers right now, if we start, we're a year away because it takes basically a whole year cycle to have a calf. So if we could put some more new beginning farmers back out there producing beef cattle in this country, something that we know how to do. Generational farmers can show the next generation of farmers how to produce healthy cattle in this country. Invest in America's farmers. The president says America first, then invest in us right now. I think it's the right thing to do.
And just a reminder.
Joining us now is John Boyd Jr., fourth generation farmer, president of the National Black Farmers Association, our friend. Mr. Boyd, how are you? Good to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Joy, for staying on top of this very, very important issue. You know, it's rough out here. It's rough out here.
It absolutely is. I think for all farmers, but I think we can say we can double that for Black farmers. But the fact that we have Argentinian beef, 30,000 pounds recalled, and yet the current administration is looking to allow Argentinian beef tariff-free into our market. Make that make sense.
Well, you know, 300,000 metric tons is what this president proposed to do, and we know the beef is going to come from Argentina. He hasn't said it yet because he knows a lot of people are going to give him pushback. So here he is helping us, and he made the statement. I think when you guys, the press was pressing him on this, he says, "Oh well, Argentina farmers are hurting, and
Yes.
Argentina people are hurting." Well, hell, what about America's farmers? What about Black farmers? You know, we have nearly almost 400 farmers facing foreclosure. How about helping some farmers right here at home? And for some reason, he gets away with these statements. He says America first, and he opens up Joy with that sneaky line. Oh, you know, I love farmers. This president don't love farmers. We're losing 77 beef cattle and farmers every day in the United States. Every day. And this president had the audacity to say he wants to help Argentina farmers, by buying 300,000 metric tons for them. We have issues in this country with screwworm, and for some reason, it fell off the news cycle. That beef that's coming from that region of the world is not safe to eat. You know, so why not invest more in Black farmers? Why not invest more in small scale farmers? This president gave $40 billion to the same president in Argentina, while America's farmers, the people he say he loves, they voted for him 3 times fold, people. And you know, Joe, I gotta say something, because and I follow your show very, very closely. And the people always say, well, you know, they paint all the farmers with the same brushes. You know, all these farmers voted for Trump. I campaigned for Harris. I endorsed Harris from the national stage. I did some events with her, and I asked everybody, black farmers, any farmers that would listen, to vote for Harris. So I don't want to get painted with that brush. But you know what? They didn't listen. They didn't listen, and that's what's making this sale so hard. You know, and I think that's why we haven't got the support for Black farmers out here, because people are saying, well, you know, people voted for these. I have no sympathy for farmers. These are generational Black farmers that deserve to be saved, and we're caught up in this Trump mess, and we weren't the ones that done it. So I wanted to say that on the show.
Mm-hmm.
People, reach out and help us. But this president is at the core of responsible for lowering beef cattle prices 25%. That's 25 cents on every dollar that he wants American farmers to eat, because he wants to help his friend over in Argentina. I mean, I don't know what kind of relationship he has with this guy, that he would sell out his own country to help some Argentina farmers. And then, he on the Black thing, he wants to run everybody out the country that looks like me and you, and he wants to bring in white farmers and give them a homestead, fast path to citizenship. So he wants to run Black farmers out of business, and he wants to bring white farmers in. But in the meanwhile, while he's trying to take us out, Joy, he's taking out his base. Those that are losing far more greater than Black farmers.
Well, I mean, he wants to, as you said, Stephen Miller objected to the settlement for Black farmers who were historically discriminated against by the federal government. He objected to that. So they don't want Black farmers to be get any sort of reparations or any repair.
Yes.
But the white farmers are also being deprived of the workers that they need, because they want to deport the brown people. So it's like they want to deport the brown farm workers, help out white South African farmers, let white American farmers and Black American farmers go bankrupt. That seems to be the plan.
Well, one of his biggest mistakes was not allowing those population of workers to come here and work. Those were seasonal workers, man. They weren't out here. They weren't thieves and murderers and drug all the stuff that President Trump said they were. I know these people. They come here every year. They bring their families. You see them in the grocery store. They work hard, and they were doing work in this country that many Americans did not want to do. I don't care how you size it up. And they were doing that work. And the president ran them out of there, chasing them with horses and herding them up and running them out of the fields and taking them out of here. And now white farmers who depended on that population to do the hard work that many Americans don't want to do went belly up because they didn't, right at harvest time, because they did not have the people to do the work. So he continues to say he loves farmers, but he sold them out. $175 billion we lost in the agriculture sector altogether. And he says, oh, well, I'm going to bail them out for $13 billion. My kid said, Daddy, the math ain't mad. 175 minus 13, leaves a whole lot of people going out of business. And that's what's happening here.
Do you suspect that part of the reason that the administration does not mind if a lot of farmers go out of business is because they're eyeing you all's land to put AI data centers on or to sell it to developers?
Thank you for that very important question. A couple of things. The vice president has a real estate company. And from what I see and hear, they're buying up a lot of foreclosed land from farmers. Why isn't that being looked into at some higher levels? You guys would have to tell me that one. I don't have the answer to that one, but I can tell you Acre Trader, JD Vance's real estate company, is buying a lot of this land. Large scale corporate America is buying some, China's buying some, and they wanted to put data centers. I was approached by putting a data center on my land. I'll never sell my generational land to a data center or anybody else. So there's a whole lot of things coming at the agriculture sector in this country and farmers. And this president, I ain't gonna let him off the hook tonight, Joe, is at the center and core of it, because before he came into office, we weren't doing great, but we weren't doing all, we didn't have 400 generational Black farmers and foreclosure under Biden. Things weren't great because what? We weren't losing our farms left and right the way that we are with these bad policies. It went from tariffs to the war to high diesel fuel, high fertilizer, all these things you covered before on your shoulder. And now he's saying me as a cattleman, a fourth generation cattleman, what board you take 25 more cent a loss off $1 because he loves farmers. And we're saying, man, look, you're sitting from the highest office in the land and calling farmers stupid. That's what this president is doing. He's calling farmers stupid because he's basically saying you guys can't count and you're going to take and do anything that I propose and you're still going to vote for me. If there's some white farmers listening to this show tonight, don't be duped for the fourth time. There's some candidates out there, and guess what, Joe, for Democratic candidates who say, they get what they deserve. Look, man, these farmers, they went through a hard time. Farmers are the hardest occupation in the world. It never ends. Go to those farmers and say, man, you got dogged by Trump, but there's a better way for you if you look at my policies as Democratic candidates. So don't stomp on a dead horse, Go to them and say, you know what, I want your vote because, Joe, I'm tired of losing. I want to win in the midterm elections, and the way to do it is to get some of these people off the fence and get them to vote for you. And while I'm on that note, the president is the only president I know since I've been doing advocacy to allow horses to be slaughtered. Mm-hmm. Farmers eat everything on their farm except for two things. We don't eat our horse and we don't eat our dog. Mm-hmm. And this horse and this president is herding them up, and it's already a done deal. He sold them, and you don't know what they're doing, with this meat thing. And we need to get back to the roots and start buying locally from farmers and get away from all this imported stuff because it's not safe to eat.
By the way, the herding using helicopters to herd these wild horses, beautiful wild horses, and then slaughter them from the air, shooting them from the air, and then picking the bodies up and shipping them overseas to sell for horse meat, in some cases for meat that people are eating in other countries. It's horrific, but it's also the same thing. They want the land. They want the land those horses are on. They want to steal it.
And he's opening up parks. He sold the park here, national park, to one of his friends. You know, and my question is to Congress, where is the emergency hearings? You know, don't let this guy just make a fool out of you. At least have a hearing and ask some basic questions. You know, why are you allowing also, why are you selling our gems, our national gems, parks that hold natural, beautiful wildlife? Why are you opening up for sale for timber and to sell these to private sector is mind-boggling to me, and why there's not more pushback. You know, this is the first time, though, Joe, since I've been out here, that I heard white farmers say they didn't like this this cattle deal. So I think it's on the borderline of something breaking there from that stronghold that Trump has on farmers. And I hope that people will look a different way in the midterm elections and elect some people that's gonna call this president out, some new blood on Capitol Hill. That's what I'm hoping and praying for.
John Boyd Jr., how can people support what you're doing?
Blackfarmers.org. Go there right now, join, make a donation, help save one of these generational farmers from foreclosure. Man, these guys are good people. They're generational farmers, an art and skill set that cannot be taught in one season. These guys have years and years of. We have a rice farmer that's on the verge of losing his farm and rice mill, the only black-owned rice mill. We lost the only black-owned cotton mill last month. That's how serious this thing is.
Yeah.
And the only way to stop these farm foreclosures is we need some money. So we have some athletes out there, and we generally, Joy, have some money to help farmers like that, or you know, some sort of bridge loan or some sort of grant. And right now, because the government is cutting grants, foundations have turned a blind eye, a deaf ear to us. We are turning to the American people and people like you and your show to help us raise awareness and to help save generational black farmers. Go to blackfarmers.org and make a contribution right now. And we really do appreciate it.
John Boyd Jr., thank you, my friend. Please come back anytime.
Keep doing what you're doing, girl. We love you. We love this show. I love this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I can tell you all, I can kind of answer my own question. The reason that they're doing this is because they're treating the entire country like mining company owners treat a mine. They find some land where they believe there's some coal or, you know, some gold or whatever in the mine. And then they start stripping that land and they start digging into it and destroying it because they want what's under the soil. They don't care about what's over the soil. They don't care about the trees. They don't care about the animals. They don't care about the wildlife. They don't care about anything other than what's under the soil. That's their profits. This is pure, unadulterated capitalism. They're treating the entire country like it's one giant mine. And if you ever see what a mine looks like after it's spent, doesn't look great. It's bald of trees. It's sad looking and gray. It doesn't have the vibrancy. It doesn't have green grass. They're literally treating the entire country like a strip mine, and they're stripping it and selling it for parts. They're stripping the country and selling it for parts. It's like they are car thieves who came upon a beautiful automobile, stole it, dragged it off to an alley somewhere and started chopping it up into pieces and selling the parts. That's what they're doing in the United States. They do not respect the country. They don't love this country. What they want is what's under the soil to steal. They want to throw data centers on all of our beautiful fauna and flora. And they genuinely don't care if it kills all the wildlife. They genuinely don't care if it kills most of the people, because to them, we're just chattel too. These people, they are fascists. Yes, absolutely.
Correct. And the sad thing is, Mother Earth is saying, you know what? I can't wait till all you people are out of here so I can rebuild everything myself. And I honestly can't disagree with her.
Yeah. I mean, Mother Earth will eventually, and you can see all the storms, all of the tornadoes, all the increasingly vicious storms. That is the Earth saying no more. That is the Earth fighting back and fighting for her survival, because these strip miners that are strip mining the economy, strip mining the culture, they're stripping everything good that this country has managed to be and leaving behind an old, spent, dirty mine. I don't know how else to explain it. Welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. Do be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Please click that little notification bell and hit all to train the algorithm to tell you whenever we're live, to help spread the word, help us get to our 500,000. We are literally so close, so far. You see the little QR code has popped back up if you want me to be on SNL. I'm not funny tonight, but I'll be funny on there. I promise if you let me on there. Let me in, coach. Let me back in 30 Rock. I think the best thing about being on SNL would be getting to walk back into 30 Rock. That is one of the most iconic and incredible buildings. And it was just such an honor to work there. Jason also worked there for a time. Like, isn't it, Jason? Isn't it one of the most cool buildings? Just walking in there, you feel like some kind of way.
And it's just not that one building. It's a whole bunch of buildings. I said it's just not that one building. There's a whole bunch of other buildings that look like that, and it has tunnels underneath to get to each one of those buildings.
Yeah, Fox is in 30 Rock.
It's
in
cool.
Rockefeller Plaza. So
cool.
Rockefeller Plaza is a series of buildings built by the Rockefeller family, and there's just a bunch of them. Fox is actually in one of them, which is very interesting. But the NBC one is just super duper iconic.
I was trying to get some water for you. I need to go get some water for myself.
I know, right? And I'm hearing feedback on your mic, but I don't know why. It's just like a crunchy sound in your mic. I don't know if anybody else can hear it too, but yes. They are treating the country like a strip. People are picking that up in the chat. And yes, it is absolutely true. What should we do when we get to 500,000 subscribers? Should we do a TikTok dance? I think Jason and I should do a TikTok dance.
Absolutely not.
We should do a TikTok dance. Yes, they are killing America, period, says Valerie Hummons. Yeah, and they're killing the country. And guess what their plan is? Kill the earth and move to Mars. Kill the earth and just move on. This is what strip miners do. They do a strip mine. They leave an old, hideous hole that's literally rotting and dead with no trees and no flora, no fauna, no creatures, no animals, nothing. And then they move on and find another strip mine.
How about this? How about we basically speed the process up for them and say, we will give you and fund you all the money you need to get the spaceship to get to Mars, and then y'all can just leave.
Yeah, just go. I would actually pay, and I hope you guys can hear Jason, but yes, I would actually say, throw another $5 a month in our taxes if it will pay to get Peter Thiel, Marco Rubio, Elon Musk, Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, the whole clacky cabal of them. Take the whole Mar-a-Lago mafia and go to Mars and have your ideal society with slave women. Maybe you could make them be robots that will just cook you dinner and all have giant boobs and not talk. And just go and live your Mark Wayne can go with them. They should all go to Mars. Just go. We're sick of you. We don't even want you here. Thank you very much. The promotion for The Man Who Sold America. It is a great book, I will tell you, and it does go into this in the way that Donald Trump is still stripping this country for parts. Hit the QR code if you want me to be on Saturday Night Live. And also, when you click on there, you can pick a musical guest you'd like to have on as well. Let me know as we start hour 2 that the Joy Reid Show is brought to you by the luxurious folks at Quince. Now, listen, people kind of call August the Sunday of summer, right? It's the perfect time to kind of reset before we back to school and the summer rush and all the exhaustion of that. And it also is, and as you know, because back to school, when you used to lay your clothes out and have all your beautiful clothes for your first day of school, that's what August is. It's that time to start thinking about your wardrobe, what you're going to wear in that little fall season. And Quince, it shows that you really do not need a crowded closet to look amazing. You just need the right pieces. And what Quince does is they specialize in high quality essentials, the pieces, the ultra soft organic cotton, the premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters, like the pieces that are timeless, that can move from season to season, but that form like the foundation for your wardrobe, right? So you throw on like a little stretch denim, right? You get a little stretch denim, you get a little loose, cute pant, you get a little cashmere sweater, and you mix and match them around. And if each of them is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands, now you're actually dressing smart, not just dressing well. And I love the fact that you're also doing good for the world. They use ethical factories, they cut out the middlemen. So you're paying for the quality of the clothes, not the crazy brand markup. So if you want to try something new, now I what I do with Quince is I love to scroll through. They have a really great website. You can just scroll through and sort of dream up little wardrobes, pull like different essentials together. I'm like in a denim mode, so I'm like pulling up cute like denim things, and they're all stretch and they're really great and very affordable. Throw them all in there, and then you can like move around and see what you want to have. And I love it. And also you get it, and also you get it at a great price. It's not just apparel, by the way. If you really want to really scroll, they also have like bags. They have bedding and bath, baby. They have kitchen staples. They have a lot. They even have furniture. Okay, don't get me started. I will stay on that site for an hour. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Joy Reid. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. As soon as it gets cool, I'll throw on my blue cashmere Quince sweater. It's super cute. As soon as it's cool, I'm going to show you guys. It's beautiful. It's now available in Canada as well and the UK because the Brits need to have good clothes as well. That's QUINCE.com/Joy Reid. All right, so this happened.
Marine 1, proceeding as briefed.
Tonight, the FAA says it's investigating how a commercial jet full of passengers was able to fly so closely to the military helicopter carrying the President of the United States on Tuesday. In this video obtained by NBC News, you can see Marine 1 lift off from the ellipse. Then you see the helicopter fly just south of the Washington Monument. Moments later, an American Airlines flight enters the frame, flying the opposite direction. The White House says the president was never in danger, but questions tonight about why air traffic control allowed air traffic to continue for upwards of a couple of minutes despite Marine 1's flight path. The Marine Corps issued a statement saying in part, quote, Marine 1's flight on August 4th was routine. Washington National Tower did not delay the helicopter crew, ask them to hold, or otherwise alter their flight profile. Shortly after the American Airlines flight passes Marine 1, air traffic control holds other flights.
We'll be doing a momentary delay.
The FAA saying today in part, quote, the air traffic controller was in contact with both the commercial pilot and Marine 1 during the loss of separation. A loss of separation means the two aircraft are too close together. Tuesday's incident comes following intense scrutiny in the wake of last year's deadly American Airlines flight crash when the plane collided with a military helicopter over the Potomac River, killing everyone on board.
I love the way they say, oh, don't worry, Marine 1, the president's plane, was never in danger. I'm worried about the American Airlines plane, not Donald Trump's plane. Oh, don't worry, the president's plane was never in danger. What about the passenger plane with like 160 people or something on it? That's the plane we're actually concerned about, fam. Because we know that if Donald Trump gets in a pickle, he'll just get on a different plane, leave his staff and the press on the endangered plane, and hide in a what do you call it, a food cart. We just know he'll hide in a food cart in a hot second. He'll be fine. He's not worried about anybody else's life. I'm worried about the people in the American Airlines plane, not him. For the love of God, what is happening? We literally do not have a government. Nothing works. The whole federal government is messed up. It's scary to fly. It's scary to eat. What the hell? Meanwhile, the people who are supposed to be holding the Republicans accountable if they ever get back power, there's something weird else going on. Instead, what you're seeing is that the Democratic Party is like super focused on Hassan Piker. They're like, actually, Hassan Piker is like the biggest thing in the world. Most important thing in the world is that we have to stop Hassan Piker. Apparently, a streamer guy. Like that's like their main priority is stopping Hassan Piker. Who most Americans, don't watch streams. And so they're like, Hassan Piker, that's our biggest issue. My issue is, can we fly without crashing into Marine 1? Or can we like eat lettuce without dying? Or can we like get an IV without getting like little pieces of plastic stuck in our bodies and then also dying? Like, those are the things I'm concerned about. Like, are we going to catch the measles? It's back to school. Is everyone going to survive? I'm concerned about those things. Are we going to have an endless war in Iran that's going to start making them think about having a draft and try to like steal all these people's children and send them to Iran to die? I'm concerned that we're, funding a genocide, like that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing I'm concerned about. And speaking of funding a genocide, the pro-Israel Dems want to keep funding a genocide. They're already reaping their great reward for winning their primary. So we know that it's been a season of a lot of progressives winning primaries, but there were a few pro-Israel Dems who also won, and they're getting their big reward. 3 of them, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who carpet-bagged a seat in Florida's formerly black District 20, Wesley Bell, who beat Cori Bush for the second time, and Jared Moskowitz, who's like probably the angriest anti-progressive candidate in the bunch, who goes on CNN and screams about Hassan Piker and about, how everybody needs to be for Israel and blah, 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 blah. They're actually getting really good jobs. They're going to be overseeing foreign policy. This is your new foreign policy team. Moskowitz actually went on his Twitter, and he was very braggy about the fact that he will be the committee chair in the House Foreign Relations Committee in the new Congress. meaning that he will be overseeing U.S. foreign policy, at least from the point of view of the Congress. And he's looking forward to strengthening our relationships with Israel and our Gulf allies. Yay! I skipped C2, Jason. By the way, Donald Trump is threatening to demolish the Kennedy Center because he is not allowed to put his name on the Kennedy Center, which, by the way, the Kennedy Center is already destroyed. We're talking about the things that he's destroyed. The Kennedy Center's income has been reduced almost to zero. 100% of the acts that were supposed to be performing at the Kennedy Center next season canceled. And the Kennedy Center was already facing zero ticket sales, essentially. It's an empty place. People are saying there's more mice than humans in there. And because Donald Trump has already destroyed it culturally, he's now going to physically destroy it because he can't have his name on the front. So he said basically they're going to demolish it. Now, I don't know if Congress can stop them, but they should be able to because Donald Trump doesn't own the Kennedy Center. So let's see if John Roberts is going to say, you know, it's too early for the lawsuit. Let him demolish it first and then we'll figure it out later. Trump is also, this is C5, apparently selling parts of the Yosemite Monument. Oh, okay, that's okay. We don't have an element for it, but I'm just going to tell you. They are looking to sell part of the Yosemite Monument. This is one of the jewels of the United States. It's one of our crown jewels. Donald Trump is looking to sell part of it to a developer, a private developer, so that they can strip mine the park or make development in the park. They're literally selling our national treasures for cheap. They're just going to hawk all of our national forests. They're going to sell off. So there'll probably be, Jared Kushner will probably be building condos there to match the ones that he's building on the bones of dead Gazan children. When does this end? The strip mining of the United States. They are literally, he is selling the country for parts. All right, let's move on. I want to talk about our broken judicial system for a moment. Because that is the other thing that's happening. The other thing they've destroyed is our entire sense of jurisprudence, the sense that there's any justice to be had in the country, period. That seems to be gone in this era as well. I want to show you a gentleman named Tony Stewart. There he is right there. You can see him. He was born with a physical disability. He faced serious challenges from early childhood. At age 4, he suffered a traumatic fall that left him unconscious. At 13, he was hit by a pickup truck while riding a moped. He fell into a coma for more than a month and had to relearn how to walk, talk, and perform basic daily tasks. This led to permanent cognitive damage. And so he is somebody that has not had an easy life of it. He has an IQ of 68. He has longstanding cognitive impairments that affect reasoning, memory, and also judgment. This man that you see there as a child, that's him as a little kid, he has been sentenced to more than 40 years in prison with more than 22 years left to serve for nonviolent drug offenses. He's been found incompetent multiple times. Twice he's been found unrestorable, yet the prosecution in this case decided to continue prosecuting him and prosecuting him. And he is now effectively dying. He suffers from end-stage renal disease, and he cannot adequately advocate for his own medical needs in prison. There's a documentary that's been created about this. And Loki Mulholland, who is the son of Joan Trumpauer Mulholland, is who produced this documentary and brought this to my attention. And I want to play you a piece of this documentary about the attempt that is the goal of this documentary is to try to save this man's life. Take a listen.
And I came down here, and he was in the road, he was bleeding and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, call first aid. I told him call first aid. And whoever was in the vehicle, they called, and they came, and I thought it killed him, man. Yeah. I didn't know, what had happened, because he was just laying in the road like quiver.
Tony was in a coma like 24 days, and he wasn't expected to live. So that's what really put him down, you know, when he got low on his disability and stuff like that. He was a good kid. I ask anybody, you can go anybody, everybody still loves Tony, trying to help him. But he's not competent. I got the papers and everything to prove that, everything that Tony went through. He even told me when he was in the accident from that day on, and say he would never be right. But it's your time. Governor, can you please release Anthony?
I got involved in Tony's case fairly late in the process. I was brought in after he had been convicted and sentenced. I know from having reviewed the records that he has been shuffled through the justice system repeatedly because we do not have the right mechanisms for people with Tony's condition.
So I first saw Anthony back in 2015. I was asked to do a competency evaluation on him, and I went to the jail in Lexington, Virginia to do this evaluation. He had already been evaluated, I would say 8 or 9 times before I ever saw him, and then there were several evaluations after that I saw him. And this was before the onset of the end-stage renal disease, which, you know, has an effect on a person's cognitive functioning.
When he went down the driveway, he kind of went right here in the middle. So when he come down through here, he was on his moped, kind of right in here, and he looked. Then he looked that way, and when he went on out, he didn't look back again. That's when he pulled right out in front of a car. Right. I seen the car coming. I'm like, oh man, I seen it happen. I could. Right. It was like, oh, he didn't see the car, and he pulled right out in front of it. But when it hit him, it hit him like right in here, and it knocked him up there probably, I'm gonna say 25 or 30 foot on up the road. Right. Yeah. Oh, I seen it happen, and I was like. I mean, it hurt me, man, just seeing it happen. I mean, you know, I've had to live with that all my life. Just knowing I seen a young fella get hit like that.
It's a very rough case. It's just the whole situation is sad. Just us having the time to talk to Mr. Frazier. I never heard that story till now. My dad never would talk about that. Like, we would ask him questions like, hey, what happened to Tony that day? All he would say is like, hey, Tony got hit, he got knocked up the road. And that would be the end of the conversation.
My name is Hassan Shabazz. I am a paralegal, certified paralegal, prisoners' rights advocate. Tony's is one of the most egregious that I've ever seen. I've never seen anyone who went in front of the court as many times as Tony and was released as many times as Tony. I've never seen it before. It bothers me that someone could go through court that many times and just be swept under the rug by the system. Like he just didn't exist, like he was nothing, like it didn't matter. Right? We'll hope he die out there, basically.
The more likely reason that Tony was ultimately convicted after many, many instances in which he was found not to be competent to stand trial was because the local authorities were tired of the revolving door, of having Tony come in and out. And they wanted him to be someone else's problem.
Joining me now is Sean Stewart. He is the brother of Anthony Tony Stewart, who's long been advocating for him for more than 4 years. He's the owner of a clothing line called Ezekiel's Wheel. If you could just pull your laptop up just a little bit so we can see the top of your head. So you're not there. Yeah, there. So we can. There you go. Give yourself. There we go. Thank you very much. Also joining us, Hassan Shabazz. He is the executive director of the Prisoners' Rights Clinic, PRC, which is a 501c3 organization advocating for the human and civil rights of incarcerated people. He's a certified paralegal with more than 27 years of legal advocacy experience. including 23 years as a jailhouse lawyer within the Virginia Department of Corrections. Shabazz has worked extensively on wrongful convictions and prison reform, and today he advocates for accountability, humane prison conditions, and meaningful criminal justice reform. And also joining us is John Kohler. He is a Virginia attorney who served for 25 years as a career law clerk in the chambers of the Honorable Lawrence L. Kuntz Jr. of the Supreme Court of Virginia. He's heavily involved in multiple bar associations and nonprofits. He's a frequent speaker at CLE programs and maintains the Virginia Appellate Lawyers blog. Thank you all for being here. And I just want to go through kind of the base of the case. And I want to let you all know that the full documentary, we are going to post it on our site as well, but you're going to be able to watch it on the website that's associated with protecting and getting clemency for Tony Stewart. That's the main place you should watch it and get more information. But Sean, let me start with you. Is there a specific crime your brother was convicted of?
Yes, ma'am. First and foremost, thank you for inviting us to your show. It's been a blessing to meet you. My brother had 3 traffic stops in 1 week. There was one on October 6th of 2020, another one on October 2020, and then another on October 13th. The specific charge that he was convicted of was really an 8-ball of what you would say cocaine, but there were 2 other traffic stops that he was involved in within less than a week. And one of the traffic stops, he wasn't even in the vehicle. It was a female that was pulled over, and they found some drugs on her, and just verbally heard word of mouth. She said she got it from my brother, and they charged him.
So, John, let me bring you in here as the attorney. Is this something that the things that you just heard described, is that something that one would typically get more than 20 years in prison for in the state of Virginia?
No, absolutely not. And as I said there in the clip from the video, Tony has been involved in the justice system since he was very young, because he is the sort of person that people can take advantage of. They can shift the blame to him, thinking that because of his brain injury, because of his developmental disabilities, that he's not going to face the consequences. And honestly, I think at this point, the local authorities found an opportunity to charge him with these relatively commonplace offenses. Get into a position where they could convince a judge that he was competent to stand trial, which I am convinced he was not, and then make sure that he got a lengthy sentence so that he could become somebody else's problem. This is a reality that occurs over and over again with people like Tony, and it's shocking.
It is, and Hassan Shabazz, you are an advocate for humane prison conditions. What are the conditions that Mr. Stewart is being held in? Are they conditions that allow him to be treated, for what could be a fatal illness, and even to get cognitive assistance?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you for having us on here. I really appreciate this. Tony right now with end-stage renal disease is faced with having to do dialysis at least 3 times a week within the Virginia Department of Corrections. And for anyone who understands what it's like to be incarcerated, to have to put on top of the stress and the strain of what it means to deal with a unduly long sentence, for one, with Tony, and then also to put on top of that dialysis treatment with defective dialysis machines. We've obtained through the Freedom of Information Act information that the dialysis machines there are defective, that the dialysis machines there need work. I know for a fact that there's 3 machines that are just sitting on the side, and this is testimony that I have from men who currently going through dialysis on the inside. And all of these individuals have the same problem with extremely high potassium levels. And for anybody that knows anything about dialysis, when you're dealing with extremely high potassium levels, it can cause cardiac arrest. It can cause heart arrhythmias. and many other ailments that Tony is also suffering with right now, and many other individuals as well. So this is a very, very big problem that we have to get under control, because there are people who are losing their lives in there. Mr. Maurice Wim, who was another individual that we advocate for, recently passed away, and he was a dialysis patient, and we don't know all the circumstances behind why he passed. But if high potassium has something to do with it, then we need to make that known. And what we want to do is protect all the other men from having the same thing happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrific to think of somebody, Sean, and I would love for you to talk a little bit more about your brother. You know, what is Tony like as a person? What was it like growing up with him? What kind of a person is he?
Well, me and Tony, 2 years apart. We're both Pisces. Growing up, me, you know, we were raised in the country. Lexington's a very small city, so growing up, you know, we played sports. Love bicycles, you know, motorcycles, you know, things that, you know, country kids did for the most part. Go down to the, you know, to the river, you know. But as a kid, Tony was very, you know, he was into sports for the most part. You know what he could play up to the, you know, up to the accident. But Tony had a, you know, a heart of gold. He as a kid, he went around the neighborhood. He cut grass. He sold newspapers, things of that nature. So, you know, us growing up, you know, Tony was a very active kid, but, you know, due to some of his disabilities after the accident, that limited him. And then, you know, later on in life, he started, you know, using drugs, and this is where, you know, his life ended up today.
And John, how much time does he have left in his sentence?
It's over 20 years, and realistically, even if he were receiving perfect treatment, which he most certainly is not, his condition is fatal, and the idea that he could survive another 20 years is almost inconceivable. The problem is that to be eligible for medical release as opposed to a compassionate release, which is what we're seeking, you have to have a doctor's statement that says you will die within 4 months. And no doctor treating end-stage renal disease can make that type of accurate prediction. So we are faced with this bureaucratic definition of what is a fatal disease, as opposed to the humanity of the treatment that he is receiving. As Hassan Shabazz referenced there, Tony is being held in a facility with hundreds of other prisoners of various forms of disability, physical, mental. The treatment there, they have multiple dialysis machines for the dialysis patients, but they are not, you know, they're not able to keep them all operating, and they're literally running them 24 hours a day to try and keep up with it. I think it was this past week, Tony went multiple days past when he was supposed to receive his next treatment. It's just shocking the way resources are not adequately provided for Tony and for all of the other men in his section. And of course, there's in the women's prisons, we have the same thing. The prevalence of disabled people, medically or intellectually disabled people, is, so, you know, some estimates go as high as 3 times that in the normal population. And the evidence is just incontrovertible that people like Tony find themselves in the system, not because the law that is used to convict them is appropriate for what they have done or what they have been alleged to have done, but because they are not treated any differently than someone who has the intellectual capacity to represent, you know, to be represented fairly. This is hardly a new issue. I first really became involved in this with a case of a young man, Daryl Renard Atkins, who was facing the death penalty in Virginia. His case actually went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and it was for the first time ruled that intellectual disability was a mitigating factor in whether or not to impose the death sentence. And if I could, just a very brief quote from the dissent that Justice Koontz, who I was clerking for at the time, wrote when the Virginia Supreme Court upheld his death sentence. He said, "A moral and civilized society diminishes itself if its system of justice does not afford recognition and consideration of the limitations people like Mr. Atkins, like Tony, have in a meaningful way." And that case is now well over 20 years, and we're still fighting the same fight.
This is horrific. And Hassan, as an advocate for prison reform, what kind of prison is this? Is this a state prison? Is this there are people in the chat asking if it's a private prison. What kind of prison is this?
Oh, no, it is Virginia Department of Corrections. And I spent 23 and a half years there. And I can tell you that Greensville is one of the largest facilities on the East Coast. It's over 3,000 men there. There are multiple units. The units are failing. They have men there who are being held in some units with air conditioning and some without air conditioning. And then the ones without air conditioning, they're being held in higher than 85-degree temperatures. So you have men that are being held in a place where the SPCA cannot run a facility over 85 degrees. It will shut it down. If you do this to a dog, what they're doing, if you put a dog in a car and you roll up the windows and it's that hot, then they will lock you up for putting the dog in the same conditions that they have these men in. And it is very unfortunate that Tony has had to endure this, but there's so many others that also have to endure it. We're talking about a facility that's full of rats and roaches. Men won't work in the kitchen because rats are jumping out of the pots when they come in the morning to start to cook, and they're quitting their jobs. And then you have individuals who are also during this dialysis treatment with these machines that are outdated and old. And there are over 10 individuals that I know for a fact that are having higher than normal potassium levels. And so this is something, this facility, in all honesty, it needs to be shut down. That's what I believe. I believe that anytime you can't hold individuals in a place where society would be acceptable of those conditions, then that place needs to be turned down. The food is horrendous for institutional use only. So these are the things that we really have to hone in on, because we just had a rally on the 21st in front of the Virginia Department of Corrections. If you go to the Prisoners' Rights Clinic Facebook page, we have 11-point demands. 11-point demands that we demand from the Virginia Department of Corrections. And so Tony's case, Tony is the case study of an individual who can go through the justice system and exemplify everything wrong with it. Everything wrong with it. And this is why we advocate for Tony so hard, because in advocating for Tony, we're advocating for thousands. And this is something that we need to know in this system of mass incarceration, that we have to stand up and be a voice for the voiceless. It's the time. It's beyond time. We have to do something.
Indeed. I mean, we're using these prisons as warehouses for people that, in many cases, to John's point, these local officials in society, they just don't want to deal with it, or they don't know what to do. They're just warehousing people in filthy, horrific conditions. And Sean, we saw your mom in the opening of that, of the documentary. Talk about how this has impacted your mom and your family.
Oh, yes, ma'am. My mom just turned 83. So what's so sad about my brother's case? My brother incurred this accident on August 19th of 1992. My mother's birthday is August 20th. So it was just recently the 34-year anniversary of my brother's accident. this past August 19th, a week ago. So this has affected my mother drastically. My mother don't sleep well. She already, just dealing with, old age already. But if you, at that part of the documentary when my mother was speaking was so unique about it, when she was talking about, I have all the paperwork. A lot of the paperwork that I used to unravel the case with my brother's situation was paperwork that my mother had held over the years. So what I did with that paperwork is, I would just comb through it. Once my brother got this time, I just knew it wasn't something right, because there was a doctor by the name of Scott Bender. He works for UVA, and what's so sad about the case is Scott Bender had evaluated my brother about 4 to 5 times over a 2-year period, and then on this last case, Scott Bender, my brother had gotten some trouble. Scott Bender was the evaluator. Scott Bender evaluated his case, and with no services rendered, Dr. Scott Bender came back and said that my brother was competent to stand trial. We thought this was mind-blowing to the family and everybody, in the legal world. And then we'll take it a step further. After my brother was convicted, Scott Bender went to court on August 9th of 2022 after the trial and went against his own evaluation. That was mind-blowing to us. So you said that he was competent to stand trial, then you turn around at the sentencing phase and go get your own evaluation. Now, just recently on August 3rd, his boss, whose name is Daniel Murray, and they work for the department over at UVA, I believe it's the ILPPP, which is the Institute of Law, Public Policy, and Psychiatry. Daniel Murray, we had a Zoom meeting. Me, Mr. Kohler, and Mr. Shabazz had a meeting with him, and he wrote a letter to the governor's office, to Candy Mundine King, which is the Secretary of the Commonwealth, and went against his own colleague and said that Tony needs to be released from prison, and that he is very vulnerable, and that it is not a safe environment. This letter is on the governor's desk right now, Ms. Spanberger, but nobody has responded to us or even contacted us to set up a meeting. So we're looking at the case from a whole different posture now, because we're like, why are y'all holding him if the boss of this guy that did this is telling you to let him go?
This, you literally brought me exactly where I wanted to go, and I will come back to you on this, Mr. Kohler, is Abigail Spanberger, the newly elected governor of Virginia. She's a Democrat. She was elected with an overwhelming vote from African Americans in the state. And there was a decision made to move the state of Virginia further from the right or to the left. You've not heard from her, John Kohler, and what would you like to say to her?
Not only have we not heard from Governor Spanberger, but and Hassan will tell you this as well. When he and I and Tony were talking a week, 10 days ago, she actually vetoed legislation that had been put forward, very modest legislation that would have addressed some of the situations that affect people just like Tony. Now, in doing so, she put a veto statement where she said she felt like perhaps this was too narrow. It only addressed a single issue. It wouldn't clarify the situation, and she looked forward to working with the legislature in the future on these kinds of reforms. But it seemed almost like, having been elected, and criminal justice reform has been an issue for the Democrats in Virginia, and under the previous Democratic administration, before we went back to Youngkin, the Republican, but before that, we did have some reforms that have, arguably improved the situation. But the work that still needs to be done, and that is what moved Virginia out of that red category in our most recent election. We have control of the legislature. We have control of the governor's office. And these reforms are not coming. And I know everybody wants it to come immediately, but we had an opportunity this past session, and yet it seems like there was almost a reticence, an unwillingness from the governor's office to take a firm stand. And I just feel as if, one of the things that constantly surprises me as an attorney when I take on, and I do primarily appellate work, is how little the public knows about the conditions in our prisons. And so families who have an individual who for the first time is going through the criminal justice system and learns what the conditions in our local jails are, in our so-called regional jails, which are really just auxiliary prisons, and especially in our prison system. And they learn that the quality of life there is so abysmal. And it becomes personal to them because now it's a member of their family. But so many other people do not know that. The description that Hassan gave of Greenville is probably, if anything, understated. I've been there myself to visit Tony. I'm just shocked at the quality. I have another client who's at a supermax prison where prisoners have actually electrocuted themselves in an effort to draw attention to how poor the conditions are there. And I will say this as well, even if we were to make appropriate reforms so that people who have the intellectual limitations that Tony has, we don't have the facilities outside the prison system. To the extent that we have, that we do have mental health facilities, they are old, they're run down, they're not adequately staffed. And I've had clients who, I had a client who was acquitted by reason of insanity. And I went to visit him at the Central State Hospital. When you drive through the campus of that huge facility, it looks like a war zone. Buildings that are crumbling, decaying. The hospital where he was actually being treated, I felt like I had stepped back into the 1950s. It just had that feeling to it. So Tony is an emblem, a symbol for a much broader problem, and I will say not just here in Virginia, it's nationwide. Yeah. And I really feel like we're we're reaching a tipping point, and it is important for people to understand that, because if we do reach that tipping point, there may be no coming back. We're the only industrial nation in the world that incarcerates more people than every other country in the world. It's unbelievable. And the way we treat these people is lacking not just humanity, but basic decency.
Last word to you, Sean. If you could send a message right now to Abigail Spanberger, what would it be? Governor Spanberger.
I would pray that Ms. Spanberger would see this conversation that we're having with you, Joy, and I hope and pray that she will not turn a blind eye to what's going on with Anthony. I hope and pray that she gets involved, that she acts on this before something happens to him. The same thing about this case is, for a 2-year period now, Hassan Shabazz, Mr. Shabazz, has wrote over 28 letters to Virginia's Department of Corrections at Atmore Drive, 6900 Atmore Drive in Richmond, Virginia. 28 letters. It had got so bad a few years ago that my brother was in the Richmond Times Dispatch. He had got a catheter because of the issue with his fistula, and it had got so bad that they put it in the Richmond Times Dispatch. And when I say it got bad, the actual catheter that he had in his chest was coming out of his body. And still to this very moment, nothing has been done. And as Hassan has said, in the last week alone, he's wrote 3 letters since our rally, pleading with the governor's office, Mr. Steve Herrick, who is the head of the health services at Virginia DOC. Nobody's done nothing. He speaks with us on a group chat when it comes to me and Hassan. And as I always say with Department of Corrections, they'll tell you what they want to hear, but they never do what they want to say. And it's very sad. And Hassan could probably elaborate a little bit better than me on it.
Yeah.
Mr. Reid.
Well, I'm going to then give now Hassan, you're getting the last word then, sir.
Yes.
What do people need to know? What
Yeah.
does Abigail Spanberger need to know?
Well, she needs to know that beyond all this, with the letters that I've written and everything, the basic thing is this. Daniel Murray wrote a letter. He is the boss at UVA over Scott Bender, the person who sent Tony to prison after a psychological evaluation had determined him to be incompetent and unrestorable 47 days earlier. And Tony is now incarcerated for this unduly long sentence. And the doctor has said, let him go. It's time to let him go. Ms. Spanberger, it's time to let him go. You need to uphold your end of what it said that you said you was going to do for these voters, these people, the individual citizens, the taxpayers. You need to uphold your end of the bargain and do the right thing. Do the right thing and let Tony go. Free Tony now.
Free Tony.
Free Tony now.
FreeTonyNow.org is. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just about to say, people can go to freetonynow.org. We have information on how they can contact the governor, how they can make a difference in this man's life and hopefully his life.
Thank you very much. You preempted what I was going to say, and that's exactly what I was going to say as well, my friend. Thank you very much. So yes, please go to freetonynow.org. No, that is all good because we are of one accord on this. freetonynow.org. You can also watch the full documentary there. It's a short documentary, so you can see this man in his humanity, his full humanity, and also these three wonderful gentlemen that are on your screen right now, and the fight that they are engaged in to try to save this man's life. All of these lives are valuable, and those who are incarcerated are still valuable human beings who should be treated with dignity and respect. You would think that that would be the way it works in a supposedly modern democratic society. Sean Stewart, Hassan Shabazz, and John Kohler. Thank you very much, and please keep us up to date on.
Thank you, Joy.
Case.
Yes, thank you so much.
For having this. It's very, very, very important.
Thank you very much. It's a tough story, y'all, but this is America, right? I almost wish I could play the song, but of course we can't. You can't play the song because you'll get zinged by YouTube. But this is the country that we live in, a country that treats human beings as disposable, and as soon as they're incarcerated, they are just thrown to the wolves. We're now doing this with immigrants as well. We're doing this with children. And these are the conditions, whether it's a private prison or a state prison. This is what we're dealing with in real life in this country. And Tony is just one case among many. But in this case, there is something that can be done. Governor Spanberger can actually save this man's life. And all she has to do is grant him clemency. He is in prison, as you heard John Kohler say, for what would be minor crimes, for which you would not get 20 years in prison. But he's got 20 years in prison because he was just seen as a problem that the state of Virginia didn't want to deal with. This is despicable, absolutely despicable. And we hope that Governor Spanberger will actually reach out to her for comment and see if she's willing to do the right thing. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to that. All right, so I'm going to take a deep breath and reset. We are toward the end of the show, and we do have one more wonderful sponsor that we want to thank. The Joy Reid Show is brought to you by our friends at Branch Basics. Now listen, it is back to school time, right? Y'all dropping off your kids and running the other way, right? But back to school season has a way of shifting everything at once. New routines, busier schedules, more time spent at home, and a renewed focus on what daily life actually looks like inside of your space. And for a lot of people, that seasonal reset is also when they start paying more attention to the environment that they're living in every day. Most people think about health in terms of food and fitness, what you eat, how you move, the workouts that you're doing. But there is another layer that often gets overlooked, and that is your indoor air quality. That actually matters because conventional cleaning products are often filled with harsh chemicals, fragrances, ingredients that are linked to things like hormone disruption, respiratory irritation, and more. The tricky part is that you may not even realize that you're being exposed to those particulates in the first place due to limited regulation. Of course, that is because companies in the U.S. are not legally required to disclose every ingredient in their formulas. Even something as simple as the word fragrance can mask dozens of undisclosed chemicals. So most people really aren't making an informed choice. They're just using what they've always used, what their mama used, what their aunties used. So when you let that sink in, it's actually the moment that that the switch actually happens in your brain. Because once you understand the chemicals that could be in your home, all you want is peace of mind. that the air that you're breathing is truly clean. And that is where Branch Basics comes in. It was founded by 3 women who each experienced firsthand just how deeply everyday products can affect their overall health. Their personal journeys led them to one core belief, that your home environment is one of those powerful drivers of long-term wellness. Branch Basics creates human-safe cleaning products designed for your entire home. Their products are free from fragrance, from harsh chemicals, and other hormone disruptors. Instead, they use plants and minerals to achieve a powerfully pure clean. The best part, they actually believe in ingredient transparency, so you can know and understand each and every ingredient that's coming into your home. Their line of surface cleaners is built around one powerful plant and mineral-based concentrate. You can just dilute the concentrate to different ratios for different cleaning needs. Your bathroom, your window, your kitchen counters, and more. They also offer dishwasher tablets that are microplastic free and laundry detergents that are safe for sensitive skin, meaning, you can truly tackle all your cleaning jobs with just one human safe line. This is not about overhauling your entire life, y'all. It's just about making one conscious switch that can change your home and your health for good. And here's the great news. Branch Basics is now available everywhere you shop. It's available at, some of the places that we shop online, but also at their own website, which is where I would go, branchbasics.com. So if you make the switch to a healthier home, it's never been more convenient. And everybody that wants to grab their premium starter kit, if you want to try all their different things and get their premium starting kit, you can get 15% off at branchbasics.com with our code JOY, J-O-Y. Just use the code JOY for 15% off the premium starter kit at branchbasics.com. Now, after your purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please make sure to mention the Joy Reid Show, because we appreciate it, and we appreciate them. All right, before we get to the end of our show, and of course the live members only live, which we're going to do. It's an AMA. You asked me anything. We actually have something we want to talk to you specifically about in the AMA. We want to talk about these. I don't know if you guys have seen this video of a very elderly and very beloved musical star who's still performing at a very elderly age, and people are sort of outraged at how she's looking and how she's performing. We're going to talk about that and whether people should keep going like into their dotage, or at some point it's time to say no, or is it a sad state of affairs that people actually have to work until they're 90? Is this also America, where people are having to work and schlep until they're like 90? It's crazy. But before we get to that, today was the 63rd commemoration of the March on Washington. Nitha in the streets. Nitha was out there, our producer Nitha, and here's some of the clips that she got.
Justice. Just as you all and countless others today were not handed a movement. They have always had to build one. And when they came here 63 years ago, they came with demands. They demanded the right to vote, an end to segregation, and fair housing. They demanded a federal jobs program, a higher minimum wage, and an end to discrimination in employment. Because together, those words carried a profound idea. The March on Washington for jobs and freedom. That freedom is both political and economic. And that movement changed what was possible in this country. We got the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And that is what paved the way for Head Start, Medicare, Medicaid, and food assistance. Because the civil rights movement is the foundation for a great society, a new era of social and economic progress. That was an extraordinary achievement, and we are living in the legacy of it today. But their vision went further than their victories, because America may have agreed to open the lunch counter, but it never committed to us affording the meal.
You can see some of the other you can keep it going. I'll just talk over it. So there's just some of the images. Unusual for politicians to be speaking at the March on Washington. The original one had no politicians. They were actually marching on Washington. So the politicians actually skedaddled out of Washington, D.C. and made sure they were nowhere nearby when the original 250,000 person March on Washington happened on August 28th of 1963. And of course, it was held on August 28th to commemorate Emmett Till. And today is also the anniversary of his body being discovered in rural Mississippi. So the March on Washington was deliberately held to commemorate the date and to codify and to make sure that they enshrined the date of the lynching of Emmett Till. That was the reason for the date. It was the March on Washington for Jobs and Justice. It's very different from the marches that have been the commemorative ones, because that was a specific policy demand march where they wanted the Kennedy administration to pass a comprehensive civil rights bill. And they wanted a comprehensive civil and voting rights bill. And they showed up with John F. Kennedy, a friendly Democrat in the White House, and they marched on him. They were marching on the politicians. The politicians left. The politicians actually, they evacuated DC. They didn't want to be there because they were so afraid there would be riots, because of course there was a lot of black people showing up. The labor movement was a big part of it. Of course, the Big Six, Dr. King, John Lewis spoke, even though they made him edit his speech so that it wouldn't be so caustic, because he was like an angry young man and they didn't want that. So there was a lot of politics in the sort of creation of the thing. There were no women allowed to be primary speakers, although there were women there that were present, but they weren't allowed to be in the Big Six. So there was a lot of drama and a lot of politics, but there were no politicians. This year, both Bernie Sanders and AOC were very prominently, as you just saw, they were very prominently a part of this commemoration. There was a lot of the folks, both the trash out, a lot of people who were, talking about voting and the right to vote. There's Spike Lee with Reverend Sharpton. So it's different. A commemoration is different than the original thing. And speaking of sort of, hearkening back to our past and the things that we've been there, I have a piece. I don't normally promote what I write on Substack, but I'm going to promote it today. I have a piece on Substack right now. I call it Jesse's Angels, and it's it's about DSA and the Working Families Party and the literal freak out by the Democratic Party's middle wing, its moderate wing, who are just absolutely freaking the hell out over DSA and Working Families Party. But I make the case in this piece that everything that DSA and WFP, not all of it, but a lot of it, including Bernie Sandersism and all of this progressivism that gets assigned to Bernie Sanders, it really is just Jesse Jacksonism. Like, Jesse Jackson came with this agenda in 84 and 88. His 84 and 88 platforms read like Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders, replicated a lot of it in 2016. And Jesse Jackson was a progressive. He was for universal health care. That was in his platform, universal health care. It was for the federal government creating jobs similar to what FDR did to make sure you had universal employment. He also was for women's equality. He was for the Equal Rights Amendment being enshrined into the Constitution. He, in fact, insisted that the Democrats, part of the bargain to get him to go away and not demand to be vice president because he won so many states in 88, was to put a woman on the ticket, which, of course, Walter Mondale did, Geraldine Ferraro. But he was also for free Palestine. And the Palestine piece has really triggered the mainline Democrats who are very, very adjacent to AIPAC and very dependent on AIPAC for money. But Jesse Jackson literally in his platform in 84 and 88 had free Palestine in it. So he is the antecedent to DSA. He's the antecedent to that. DSA actually existed already, but no one really heard of them. And people who are freaking out about not only the existence of this progressive left, which is being sort of coded as this white progressive left. No, it is a multiracial hearkening back to Jesse Jacksonism, and even earlier than that to SNCCism, to the kind of leftism that existed in the African-American community very quite prominently throughout the 1950s and 60s, throughout the 60s especially. So that's what I kind of write in there, that this is what it was about. And so people should not freak out about it. Although what he called the Democratic leisure class freaked out about Jesse Jackson too. He freaked, and even his big controversy where he made a really horrible slur at Jewish Americans, it was in the context of talking about the fight against him for having associated himself with Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Liberation Association. And he was catching hell for it. And he griped about it to a black reporter and used some unfortunate language in 84. That is the reason he ended up in that trouble. So just so you know, it was about Palestine, in case y'all have forgotten and didn't read Abby's book or mine. You can read Fracture and learn about that too. Okay, let us now do our moment of joy. And our moment of joy is about, we know that Memphis and Gary, Indiana are really suffering with power outages because, again, where's the $1.7 trillion infrastructure bill? I don't know. Apparently, they didn't spend any of it to make sure these Black communities had their lights on. But leave it to Keith Lee, the restaurant influencer who goes and he does restaurant reviews. He went to Gary, Indiana to help, and he is our moment of joy. Here it is.
And I've been without power for 12 days. Me and my family are blessed enough to be here. And there's over thousands of people that came out. We got food trucks, we got supplies. We here as a community, we here as a family. God bless you, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You want me to throw it in the trunk?
Who's on now? Roy's Royal Lemonade.
Backseat, I'm all right. You okay?
I appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. God bless y'all, man.
All right, we just left. It was over 4,000. It could be anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 people that showed up on 2 days' notice. I'm speechless. I'm at a loss for words. I'm not gonna lie. Currently en route to a senior citizen complex that's been without power. We about to go take some food, take some meals for the people who couldn't be able to come out and stand in line or drive in line.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thinking about us, not forgetting about us.
We won't.
You guys are not forgotten.
Thank you, young man.
It's still very important.
Shout out to the Salvation Army. Shout out to Tyrese Halliburton. Shout out to every single person that contributed anyway. Shout out to every single person who was making videos about spreading the knowledge that this is happening right now. Because I think it's crazy that it wasn't national news. And the fact that we played any part in that, I'm honored.
This city is 90% us. And we will never be forgotten about. And as long as I got lungs and I got air in them, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure any community that look like mine will not be under-reserved and underprivileged. I appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart.
That is the progressivism that is represented inside of multiracial communities. That actually is what progressivism is. The opposite of fascism is care. The opposite of fascism and hate and MAGA is care. Caring for our neighbors, caring for our communities, and just giving a damn about each other. Thank you all for tuning in to the Joy Reid Show. We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. One last time for the QR code. If you want me to be on SNL, I promise I'll be much funnier than I was tonight. This is a rough Sat Friday. But now we're going to have some fun. 15 minutes. We're going to take a quick 15-minute break. And then if you are a member, you will be able to be in our Members Only Live. We're going to do the Members Only Live. If you want to read my full piece on Substack, you can just go over to joyannereid.com. Please subscribe. If you go over there, don't have to pay nothing. You can just subscribe and become a member of the Readers Nation. That's where you can read if you're a reader. All right. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Yes, I do need rest. Coco, I do. All right. See you guys in 15 minutes. Love you guys. Peace. Have a great weekend. And oh, wait. Next week, Monday, and we got a lot of stuff coming up next week. We're going to talk to Karen Atia about beating the Washington Post and getting her JOB back and having to get back pay and all the good things. We're also going to talk about these flock cameras, which are crazy. We're going to do a bunch on the flock camera stuff and what's being done to sort of beat those things back. And yes, y'all, we're going to talk about these alleged lynchings. There's just too many people who are turning up hanged. We got to go there. We're going to go there next week, starting on Monday. All right. See you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. In the meantime, love you. See you in 15 minutes. Bye.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees, and I'm hard to detect, like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick, and I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party, so I'm a real talk about it, for sure.